Ever wonder why some businesses seem to just take off while others stumble, even when they look like they're doing everything right? Well, a lot of the time, the answer isn't inside the company at all. Today, we're going to dive into the powerful forces from the outside world that are constantly changing the game for every single business.
You see, no business is an island. They're all swimming in this big, dynamic, constantly shifting environment. And success? It's not just about having a killer product anymore. It's about being able to react, to adapt, and even to see the next big wave coming before it hits. That's what separates the winners from the rest.
So, okay, if you're a business leader, where do you even start? The very first step is just to accept and really understand the wild, unpredictable world you're operating in.
And this isn't just some catchy phrase. As this quote from the Cambridge International textbook points out, this idea of constant change is a core principle of business. Seriously, it trickles down and affects everything, from the 5-year strategic plan all the way to the day-to-day decisions on the factory floor.
So, how do you make sense of all this, well, this external chaos? How do you get a handle on it? Luckily, there's an amazing tool for that, a framework that helps bring order to the madness. It's called PESTLE Analysis. PESTLE is basically an acronym that helps a business sort all these powerful outside forces into neat little buckets. You can think of it like a set of glasses. By looking at the world through each lens, a company can start to spot the big opportunities on the horizon and, just as importantly, the potential threats sneaking up on them.
So let's just quickly run through what each of these letters stands for. We've got P for political, that's the role of government. E for economic, the overall financial health of a country. S for social, the trends in society and culture. T for technological, the crazy pace of innovation. L for legal, the specific laws and regulations. And finally, E for environmental, which is all about our planet. Each one of these is a huge area we've got to explore.
All right, let's start by digging into two factors that are really closely linked: political and legal. This is all about the power of the government and the rules everyone has to play by.
These rules directly tell a business what it can and can't do. And we're talking about fundamental stuff here. Things like minimum wage laws that dictate your payroll costs, health and safety rules for your team, and laws that protect customers from shady advertising. These aren't just suggestions. They are hard and fast limits on how a company can operate.
But government influence isn't just about specific laws. Let's zoom out a bit and look at how massive economic policies and this growing focus on the environment are creating huge shifts that every single business has to navigate.
Every government kind of has a wish list for the economy. They call these macroeconomic objectives. And generally, they want three main things. They want the economy to grow, they want to keep inflation, that's how fast prices are rising, nice and low, and they want as few people as possible to be unemployed. The general health of the economy is a massive deal for any business.
So, how do they try to make that wish list a reality? Well, governments have two main toolkits they can use. First up is monetary policy. This is where they mess with things like interest rates. A tiny increase can suddenly make it more expensive for a business to get a loan. Then you've got fiscal policy. This one's all about changing taxes and how much the government itself spends. Both of these can totally change a company's bottom line and how much money its customers have to spend.
And these days, environmental factors are absolutely front and center. I mean, issues like climate change and sustainability, they're not just niche topics anymore. For a lot of companies, especially those trying to build an eco-friendly brand, this stuff is now at the very heart of their business strategy.
Okay, next up, let's look at two of the fastest moving influences out there: the constant shifts in society and the breakneck speed of technology.
This table here shows perfectly how changes in the makeup of our society, what we call demographics, can be a total double-edged sword. So, for example, take an aging population. On one hand, that could mean a shortage of workers, which is a real threat. But look at the other side. It also creates a huge, brand new market for products and services designed for older people. See? A massive opportunity. And then there's tech. Wow. From how a company markets itself online to using robots in its warehouses, technology isn't just an influence, it's a full-blown revolution. It can literally create entire new industries overnight and make old ones disappear just as fast. All right, we have covered a ton of ground, looking at all these external forces that buffet businesses around. So now it's time to see what's stuck. Let's do a few quick questions.
First up, a business has to follow very specific rules about things like health and safety, or how much it has to pay its workers. Which letter in the PESTLE framework does that fall under? Okay, question number 2. Picture this. Prices are rising way too fast. To try and slow things down, the central bank raises interest rates, which makes borrowing money more expensive. What kind of policy is that an example of?
And for our final question, think back to that government wish list for the economy we talked about. Which one of these is something pretty much every government is trying to achieve?
So we've gone all the way from politics to technology, and you can see how much is going on outside a company's control. But of course, the world is never going to stand still. So I want to leave you with a big question to think about. Of all the forces we've talked about, which single one do you think is going to be the biggest game changer for businesses over the next 10 years?